Before we begin, we'd love to know, where are you watching from? Please share your city in the comments below. This is a historic moment, and we want to know from which corners of the world you're witnessing what's happening in Jerusalem. Jerusalem awakens under a copper sky. The ancient city stirs with anticipation as thousands converge upon her stone pathways. They come from every nation, every tongue. Families clutching prayer books, elderly men with weathered faces, young children wide-eyed at the magnitude of this gathering. The Western Wall Plaza fills beyond capacity. Overflow crowds line rooftops and alleyways. This is not merely a holy day. This is Yom Kippur 2025, and something extraordinary is unfolding. The air vibrates with expectation. Television crews position cameras strategically. Journalists whisper into microphones. Social media feeds overflow with live updates. Jerusalem today, they report, is the epicenter of a prophetic moment. Security forces maintain vigilance, yet there is peace in the air, a peace that defies understanding, a peace that speaks of divine orchestration. The remnant has arrived. The appointed time approaches. History and prophecy converge on this sacred ground as the sun begins its descent toward the horizon. Jerusalem waits. The world watches. What happens here today will reverberate across nations and generations. The call echoes through ancient streets. Prepare the way, announce religious leaders through loudspeakers and digital platforms. The moment foretold has arrived. Not a random gathering, not a manufactured event. This assembly was ordained centuries ago, written in sacred texts, whispered through generations. The timing is precise. Astronomical alignments confirm what the prophets declared. Yom Kippur 2025 coincides with celestial markers unseen for millennia. Religious scholars point to ancient scrolls recently discovered, archaeological findings revealed just months ago. Scientific instruments detect unusual electromagnetic activity above the Temple Mount. We are witnessing the fulfillment, declares a renowned rabbi, his voice trembling with emotion. What was written is now becoming visible. Government officials stand respectfully distanced, observing with measured curiosity. International diplomats watch from designated areas, sending real-time reports to capitals worldwide. The shofar bearers take their positions. 100 men and women selected through ancient protocols, each holding a ram's horn polished to perfection. They form a circle around the sacred precinct. The call has sounded. The response is overwhelming. What was predicted now unfolds before cameras that broadcast to every continent. The appointed hour approaches. Jerusalem trembles not with fear, but with holy anticipation. Ancient words materialize before our eyes. Prophecies once obscured by time now illuminate with clarity. Zechariah's vision manifests in real time. Isaiah's declarations echo in living color. The book of Revelation's imagery takes tangible form. On that day, the texts proclaimed, when the shofar sounds in Jerusalem, nations will tremble and hearts will awaken. That day is today. Scholars reference passages long debated, now understood with sudden clarity. The Dead Sea Scrolls predicted this convergence of events. The ancient prophets saw this very gathering. Even secular historians acknowledge the statistical impossibility of such precise fulfillment. Scientific instruments detect anomalies. Atmospheric readings display patterns never before recorded. Satellite imagery captures light phenomena unexplainable by conventional science. We are witnessing the intersection of dimensions, explains a physicist present at the event, the convergence of the seen and unseen realms. Religious leaders from diverse backgrounds stand in unified reverence. Ancient enemies pray side by side. The prophecies never specified that all would understand, only that all would witness. The world watches as biblical passages transform from ancient text to current events. What was written centuries ago unfolds on this day, in this hour before our very eyes. It happens now. Not in some distant future, not in some mythical past. The prophetic moment unfolds in real time, in our generation, in this present hour. Thousands of shofars sound simultaneously. The blast reverberates through Jerusalem's stone corridors. The sound rises above the ancient city, carried by atmospheric conditions that meteorologists call unprecedented. Live broadcasts momentarily lose signal. Electronic devices flicker, then restore with enhanced clarity. Witnesses report physical sensations. Vibrations felt through the ground, warmth despite the cool evening air, an inexplicable sense of weightlessness. "It is happening now," whispers a young woman, tears streaming down her face. Her testimony echoes thousands of others. Medical professionals on site record unusual readings. Heart rates synchronize across the gathering. Brainwave patterns display harmonic convergence never before documented in mass gatherings. The veil between worlds thins perceptibly. Those present describe seeing beyond ordinary perception. Colors intensify, sounds clarify, time itself seems to expand and contract simultaneously. "We are experiencing a moment outside of time," explains a renowned physicist on site. "A convergence of dimensions that science has theorized but never witnessed. What was prophesied centuries ago materializes in this present moment, unfolding before a watching world that struggles to categorize what it witnesses." The voices rise in unison, not choreographed yet perfectly synchronized. Ancient Hebrew prayers blend with contemporary expressions of worship. Muslims, Christians, and Jews find themselves speaking the same words simultaneously. A spontaneous harmony emerges that linguistic experts call statistically impossible. Pilgrims who arrived as strangers now embrace as family. "We came from 97 nations," reports an event coordinator, "speaking 63 distinct languages. Yet somehow we understand one another perfectly." Children point toward the sky, seeing what adults initially miss. Elderly individuals with limited mobility suddenly move with renewed strength. A woman blind from birth describes colors she has never seen. A deaf man transcribes the shofar's sonic patterns with perfect accuracy. "The people have become one voice," observes a cultural anthropologist documenting the event, "not through loss of identity, but through transcendence of division." Political differences dissolve in the presence of something greater. Economic disparities seem temporarily irrelevant. "We are remembering who we truly are," explains a neuropsychologist studying the phenomenon. "Not separate individuals, but connected expressions of something greater." The voice of the people becomes a living testimony. What divides in ordinary time unifies in this sacred moment. The shofar sounds again. 100 ram's horns, each with distinctive tonal qualities, yet blending in perfect harmonic convergence. The first blast, Tekiah, long and steady, calling to attention. The second, Shevarim, 3 broken sounds stirring the soul to contrition. The third, Teruah, 9 staccato bursts, awakening the spirit to action. Then finally, Tekiah Gedolah, the great blast, sustained beyond human capacity, echoing until the very stones seem to resonate in response. Sound engineers record frequencies outside normal human hearing range, yet everyone present perceives them. Acoustic scientists measure decibel levels that should dissipate quickly, yet the sound continues, amplifying rather than diminishing. The shofar's call penetrates more than eardrums. It resonates within the cellular structure of every living thing present. "This is not simply sound," explains an audio physicist monitoring the event. "It's a carrier wave for information our instruments detect but cannot decode." The ancient ram's horn, used since biblical times, produces effects that modern technology cannot replicate. What science called impossible manifests before skeptical observers. The shofar speaks a language older than words, communicating directly to the human spirit. Those present report hearing different messages simultaneously: personal revelations, universal truths, divine directives. The sound becomes more than vibration in air. It becomes a tangible presence, moving through the gathering like a living entity, touching each person uniquely, yet connecting all in unified experience. Ancient traditions breathe with renewed relevance. What seemed like outdated rituals now reveal hidden purpose. The Yom Kippur ceremonies, practiced for thousands of years, suddenly display technological implications never before recognized. Our ancestors knew things we've forgotten, explains a historian specializing in ancient technologies. These rituals contain coded information we're only beginning to decipher. The positioning of participants follows geometric patterns recently discovered in quantum field theories. The timing of ceremonial elements corresponds to astronomical alignments only visible with modern equipment. Memory awakens within the collective consciousness. People report spontaneous recollections of events they never personally experienced. Genetic memory suggests a neurogenetic researcher present. Information stored in our DNA, activated by specific frequencies. The ancient and modern merge seamlessly. Traditions once dismissed as superstition demonstrate scientific validity. Technologies considered cutting-edge reveal principles outlined in ancient texts. We are not discovering, observes a quantum physicist watching the proceedings. We are remembering. Jerusalem itself seems to participate in the remembrance. Archaeological layers beneath the city emit measurable energy signatures. Ground-penetrating radar detects structures shifting, realigning to patterns described in esoteric texts. The past is not dead. The traditions are not empty. What was preserved through millennia of observance now reveals its purpose at the appointed time. The spiritual impact manifests physically. Medical teams report spontaneous healings, defying clinical explanation. Psychological researchers document instantaneous resolution of trauma symptoms among survivors of violence present at the gathering. Environmental sensors detect pollution levels dropping within a 30-mile radius of Jerusalem. Water samples from the region show molecular restructuring consistent with documented healing properties. Something tangible is happening, confirms a skeptical environmental scientist. Something measurable, yet beyond our current frameworks to explain. The spiritual becomes undeniably physical. The metaphysical produces empirical effects. Religious experience generates data that secular instruments record but cannot fully interpret. Family reconciliations occur spontaneously throughout the crowd. Long estranged relatives find each other without coordination. Broken relationships heal without therapeutic intervention. The boundaries between psychological, physiological, and spiritual healing have temporarily dissolved, observes a holistic medical researcher documenting the phenomena. Political adversaries embrace without diplomatic mediation. Economic competitors establish spontaneous partnerships. What diplomacy failed to accomplish through decades of negotiation unfolds naturally in this thin space between worlds. The impact extends beyond individual experience. Collective transformation occurs at cellular, psychological, and social levels simultaneously. We are witnessing system-wide recalibration, explains a systems theorist present. Not isolated incidents, but a coordinated restoration process operating across multiple dimensions of human experience. Signs multiply beyond coincidence. Statistical anomalies accumulate beyond mathematical probability. The timing coincides with astronomical alignments occurring once in millennia. Weather patterns shift, contrary to meteorological predictions. Animals display behaviors documented only in ancient texts. Bird migrations alter course, congregating in spiral formations above Jerusalem. Marine life along the Mediterranean coast arranges in geometric patterns visible from satellite imaging. Nature itself responds, confirms an ethologist studying the phenomena. as if receiving and reacting to information we cannot directly perceive. Digital systems experience simultaneous anomalies worldwide. Financial algorithms momentarily synchronize, then stabilize at more equitable distribution patterns. Communication networks briefly achieve perfect efficiency despite unchanged infrastructure. Power grids report energy surplus without increased production. Our technological systems appear to be recalibrating, notes a systems engineer monitoring global networks, spontaneously optimizing toward harmony rather than maximum extraction. The signs speak to those with eyes to see. The moment carries meaning beyond the event itself. Time folds upon itself as past, present, and future occupy the same space. We are witnessing the collapse of linear time, suggests a theoretical physicist documenting temporal anomalies at the site. Multiple timelines converging at this nexus point. The signs reveal what has always been true, that material reality reflects spiritual principles, that physical systems respond to metaphysical shifts, that consciousness shapes manifestation more directly than our fragmented science has recognized. This is not conclusion, but continuation. Not endpoint, but threshold. What unfolds today initiates processes that will continue unfolding across generations. Seeds planted in this moment will germinate in soils not yet formed. We are witnessing the beginning, explains a generational strategist studying historical inflection points, the first visible manifestation of a restoration process that will unfold across centuries. Those present understand. They observe only the initial phase of something vastly larger. The gathering disperses, yet remains connected through something stronger than physical proximity. Commitments form without formal agreements. Alliances establish without diplomatic protocols. A network is being woven, observes a sociologist tracking relationship patterns among participants. Not based on traditional affinity factors, but on something our models can't yet quantify. The shofar's echo continues long after the sound subsides. Its message embeds within cellular memory, transmitting to future generations through means science has yet to fully document. Jerusalem remains the geographic epicenter, yet the effect ripples outward at measurable rates. Monitoring stations across continents detect harmonic resonance patterns originating from this location. The information transmits through mediums we don't fully understand, admits a communications engineer tracking the phenomenon. Like quantum entanglement operating at macro scales, this moment becomes a reference point for what follows. Not conclusion, but initiation. Not termination, but transformation. The continuation of a story larger than any single generation can witness in its entirety. The world watches with undivided attention. Global viewership breaks all previous records. Live streams reach remote villages and urban centers alike. Translation services struggle to keep pace with demand as the event transcends language barriers. Nations respond according to their spiritual preparedness. Some governments issue immediate statements, acknowledging the historic significance. Others maintain cautious observation. Media outlets report according to their established frameworks, yet even the most skeptical commentators acknowledge the unprecedented nature of what unfolds. We lack adequate language, admits a prominent secular journalist. Our existing frameworks cannot contain what we are witnessing. Financial markets respond with unexpected stability rather than volatility. It's as if competing economic systems momentarily recognize their interdependence, notes a global finance analyst tracking real-time market responses. Military alert levels decrease spontaneously across historical conflict zones. We're seeing de-escalation without diplomatic intervention, confirms a defense analyst monitoring global security metrics. The watching world experiences more than observation. It experiences participation. Distance becomes irrelevant as the effect transmits beyond physical limitations. Those watching through screens report the same phenomena as those physically present. The distinction between direct and mediated experience has temporarily collapsed, explains a media theorist studying the global response. Distance no longer determines degree of participation. What happens in Jerusalem happens everywhere simultaneously. The world watches, and in watching becomes part of the unfolding story. The echo continues, the reverberation expands. What began in Jerusalem now encompasses the globe, not ending but evolving, not concluding but clarifying. The prophetic voice speaks not of termination, but of transformation. This is not the end, declare religious leaders from diverse traditions, finding unexpected unity in their interpretations. This is the restoration of what was always intended. The final shofar blast fades from audible perception, yet continues operating at frequencies beyond human hearing. Its effect remains measurable through instruments designed for other purposes: quantum fluctuations, gravitational variations, electromagnetic anomalies. The message embeds itself within the fabric of creation. Those who gathered now disperse, carrying something that cannot be contained in words or images. They return to 97 nations, speaking 63 languages, yet somehow united by an experience that transcends linguistic limitation. Future generations will mark this date. Historians will identify this moment as a fulcrum point upon which human history pivoted. What was fractured begins its healing. What was hidden reveals itself incrementally. The ancient promise finds contemporary fulfillment. "We have witnessed only the beginning," acknowledges a renowned theologian present at the event. The first visible manifestation of a process that will unfold across generations. Jerusalem breathes deeply as the crowds disperse. The stones of the ancient city hold the memory of what transpired. The prophetic moment embeds itself within matter itself, continuing its work long after the visible gathering concludes. The story continues. The prophecy unfolds. The journey advances toward its ultimate restoration.